So let's bring it
Yeah,
back to real estate, right? The housing market.
yeah,
I don't know about you guys, but I've been driving a lot recently. Once we're allowed to drive around, I see a
yeah.
lot of projects that are like halfway complete. I see that there's a lot of condominiums being built. I felt like there might be an oversupply coming soon, right? And if the people that choose to buy house over car, right, that means bear in mind, if they, let's just assume they got no family car, they're all on their own, right? They're coming out, they got let's say 200K, they want to invest in either a house or a car. Let's say they chose house, and then with my feeling, okay, I'm not sure if Sean feels the same, or John, if you feel the same. The way I look at it, there's a ton of units of property and small ones being released into the market soon.
Yep.
Um, what would you feel if you're like you got 200K, you use it as a deposit to buy a house, and then your productivity goes down because of various reasons that we talked about earlier, and now you're concerned.
Like I think this week alone, there's like 4 to 5 projects being BP'd. It means like almost 1,000 to 1,200 units being released, lah, right? But
But this is in KL or
yeah,
where is
KL
this?
KL alone,
Oh damn.
KL alone. So like everyone, a lot of people are getting keys. So it's good for our renovation business because everybody's doing their makeovers. But then when you come to think about it, I still think that on a broader scale, land is limited. Prime land is even more limited, right? So if you can get one unit, so the scarcity mindset that you guys have, right? It's the not the scarcity mindset, the topic of scarcity that we spoke about, right? Like the rarity of the collector items, the rarity of the watch, rarity of land to me makes a lot of sense. Yeah, so
Right.
when you look into the timeline of 20, 30 years, there's no way you can get the particular location at a particular price anymore. Even if it's
Sean,
burned
Sean,
down,
I
yeah,
want to ask you then, because this is actually the same thought I had at the day I messaged you about Gasket Alley, right?
yep,
Because and I was thinking, man, that, condominium is, I read a book, I can't remember who said this. I think it was probably Trump or something. And condominiums or office buildings are basically, you don't. I can't remember how he said it, but basically, it's based on you building on the air, right?
yep.
But I was thinking, right, instead of investing in a condominiums or office buildings right now, I was thinking, this must be crazy, but to buy lands
Yep.
and build something on top of lands. Like, what's your thought on that? Like, this is my personal selfish question.
So I think if you have the ability financially, go ahead. Because personally, I'm also hunting, right? But when you buy land, just be very mindful on what is in the title of the land. In
Right.
Malaysia, there's a lot of express condition, the term and condition of the land. So sometimes you cannot build certain things. Sometimes you can, like even for agricultural, there's rubber tree lands, there's oil palm lands, there's kelapa sawit, there's kelapa land, and a lot of people caught by surprise. And if you are not familiar with land laws, because land laws also are different in accordance to state, so you be a little bit more mindful on the and when you, especially when you calculate on what developable area that you can do, usually it's only around 50% of the land that you can do over a certain size. So again, if you have 100 acres, it's a whole different restriction. If you have only 1 acre, it's the different restrictions. But to me, if you just want to park something, right, you have this amount of money that you don't know what to do with it, parking into a land, I think is okay. Because if you look into one of the biggest landowners in KL right now, which is Sime Darby, all bought land first and run it as a the Kelapa Sawit first. Then now they are the largest. I think for the next 30 years, they don't have to buy any more land and they cannot finish. Because their
Right.
latest master plan around, I think Malacca, Seremban area, it's phase one alone is 10,000 acres. Phase one. That's like 6 phases. So the
Right.
entire development is like a state itself. But if you think about it, that's all supply, right? KLCC land is still prime. No matter how you go about it, it's still scarce. And yeah, to me, if you get the opportunity, because I was in the deal when Velocity was trying to sell their land. Subway Velocity, the piece of land, which is around 20 acres in a very nice form. I was part of the group of agents that was trying to sell this land. before it was built. Yeah, so you can see how really people look into land, right? But just that the ownership of it, it's very slow. To transfer out to do transaction is just very very slow, and the amount of capital you need is just insanely high. People don't take loans for land one actually.
Right.
Oh,
Right.
yep.
So in terms of land titles, right? Like you were talking about, like, let's say farm agricultural lands, right? Rubber estates and palm oil. Is it hard to convert the titles? Is it
You
even
need to get
possible?
a surveyor, but it depends on several things. So there's this national policy where there's a roadmap of how Malaysia is going to be. So sometimes a great land investor, they look at the particular zone. It's actually it's an agricultural land, but it's positioned in an industrial zone. So he was paying for an agricultural land,
Right.
but because of its zoning, it's very easy to convert the land use.
Right.
That's how he made his money.
Right. Okay. Okay.
So
Yeah.
so you need a lot of insider news to be to find your ways through, lah, unfortunately.
Because the way I see it, land has less stress if you buy it right in the right location.
Yep.
The fact that you don't need any management, and I feel like when you buy land, when people say they buy real estate, with the oversupply of condominium, with what I felt, right, literally right next to me, right, they are building like what looks like thousands of units, which is
Yep.
insane, right? And I felt like when you invest in any of these condominium, and I'm a condominium investor myself, which I started to feel like we are just buying like a little box in the air, right? But when you buy land, I really felt like there's a lot more potential of what you can do with it, right? And you know, and land is truly scarce, but air you can always stack higher, right?
But
So
no lah, but it's not like it's not like you can build another condo on top of the condo.
yeah, that's right. Yeah.
Yeah.
But John, what's your thought on that, like in terms of this particular discussion?
I've never bought land before. I only have condos, so I can't really comment. I think land is a very different ball game because, like what Sean said, right? When you buy land, you can't take loan, okay. And the next thing is, if you have nothing on the land, you're just putting your cash there, lah. There's no dividends, no passive income. Yeah, so I think it's a very different ball game when it comes to land. Yeah, so I can't really comment on that.
Yep.
Yeah.
But fortunate enough, we are in Malaysia, right, where the ownership is very friendly. It means if you buy a land, you have the title, there will be an exact copy of the same title in the land office. In certain countries, they are not Commonwealth, right? They are lacking in this kind of system. So sometimes people may pretend to be the owner of a particular land when they sell to you. So there are a lot of scam cases, fraud cases, where when you thought you buy the land, then 15 years, 20 years later, apparently the land does not belong to you, but you have been holding it, thinking that it was yours. Apparently then the owner will build it something else on the land, then like you suddenly, why like that? And it's pretty common back then in Malaysia for fraud cases like this.
Right.
Especially when there's no technology lah. So I can just pretend to be anyone else. Yeah. So but land also, I'm the cool thing is the richest guy, the Bill Gates is the largest landowner in US.
Farmland
Privately.
owners.
Farmland owners, which is insane. Like now, so if you have that mindset of buying a land with dividend first, so you can go for palm oil land, rubber tree land, durian was very hot. So I see a lot of people actually coming into Pahang actually to buy the durian lands, and they have made their monies. But then, unfortunately, the people chop their trees lah.
I think
But
it's
I
an
think-
interesting
Yeah.
look into it, isn't it? Is there
Yeah.
any form of like land type of investment in the form of like a REIT?
Not that I know of lah. Not that I know of, but I think it's coming out soon. I think there's been plans where they want to, but they just cannot form because in terms of forming of a REIT, 90% of your revenue needs to be consistent.
Right.
But in that manner of, so for example, if it's the mall REITs, right, they isolate out the business and the building. So whether or not the business makes money, the rental is consistent to the building. Therefore, the REITs can be established. Hospitals as well, they isolate out the business and the building. But for land, can you isolate out the operation of the collection of the palm oil with the ownership of space?
Yep.
Yeah, I don't see anyone doing it yet because I think they are rich. There's no need to raise more money in letting people buy their REITs. Because actually there's a lot of compliance to do when you are running a REIT. A lot of reporting to do. So as a landowner, why would I want to go into such deals? Unless I really need cash.
Right.